Mariana, the question.
Two questions. The relationship between MPhil and MRes is an interesting one. So what's the difference between those two?
Okay.
And the second one is, I see a big difference between talking about a qualification and talking about the support system around it, which is electronic. So to what extent are you treating them as the same thing? And to what extent is this kind of support environment, are there plans for developing that into support environment for PhD students and ARC students?
So let's take the MRes one first. The MRes is a residential program and it's full-time, okay? And the MRes is the result of actually, I can't remember which of the council established that they want a 1+3 PhD program. So the MRes is the component of the first year towards a 4-year PhD program, which is funded by council.
Okay, that's not true of other universities. So other universities have PhDs, MPhils, and...
No, it is true here.
Our university,
yes. Okay. So essentially, under the program, you can't access to your PhD, which is a 3-year PhD funded by the council, unless you've done your MRes first, which is 1 year residential with a dissertation. Okay. So it's very different from what we do. I mean, to some extent, there is perhaps an issue of why don't we do it that way? Why don't we have the MPhil to be the first component of a PhD, which teaches basic research skills, which is what the MRes does. Essentially, it's about research methods and skills and do literature review so that you can spend 3 years doing actually research. Instead of, at the moment, we are cramming a PhD with or PhD skill development, and then, well, and on top of that, we're doing the research work. Okay, so that actually is pretty lovely. So it takes 4 years. The first year, you train. And the remaining 3 years, you do the research. Okay, that's the difference. The MPhil is not organized that way. It's a very different thing. The other question was about regulation technology. You want to take
the other thing was about making this extendable to all PhD students.
Yeah, so here now you're rolling the qualification and the environment into one, right?
Yes.
So are you going to, are there plans for splitting this out into doing the same kind of environment?
I mean, there's nothing that preventing this being taken by PhD students and being used by supervisors to involve their PhD students in their thing. So, the idea is that if this is successful, then it can be a first step for all PhD students.
If what is successful then?
Sorry?
You say if this is successful, does the success of the environment, does that depend on the success of the MPhil, which is a qualification involving students registering and so on?
I think that independence, because the environment can be used by anyone, with PhD students or...
I think they are independent. There's nothing which say this structure is for MPhil and for this regulation. There's nothing in that. It's just an infrastructure that can be used to support part-time research students, whichever degree they do. We are starting small. We are starting with the MPhil because it's shorter, because that was the brief. But, PhD students are, we're very happy for them to come in, use it, see if it works for them. It is supervision. It is research student supervision. I don't see a big distinction.
Can I ask you about training? And one aspect of the on-campus training that we referred to is a lot of it runs by workshops. Most of the things you pointed at are things that individual students can get access to, like the Research Skills website, which has videos on it and so on. Are you intending to duplicate the workshop aspects of on-campus work in groups working online?
I mean, that's something that with the induction will be seeing how much we can do, because the research school runs a lot of those workshops. What they're doing now, they're not going to run those workshops for distancing, although they feel obliged to do something for external students. I think the most they're going to do is recording or workshops and putting them
They're
online.
requiring external students to come in.
Yes.
So what are you going to do to replace that?
We will hope to start running some sessions on Illuminate, for example, and using some recordings, and then we run the sessions trying to replicate. But I don't think we'll have the capacity to do what research school does in terms of running every single workshop on a separate session for the students. So that's something that we'll be sorting out to start with induction. And then see what else we can replicate. What I would say is that the research school is looking at how to make all that accessible, and it's really their job to all external research students, because under the QAA review, that was one of the things that they were asked to do. So, and at the moment, I think, I mean, this task group, I just went to the first meeting, and they say, okay, we'll just record some. But you always have problems of accessibility. Students are all over the world with different times and so on. So even if you run a session to duplicate one workshop, it will only reach a few students. So yes,
I mean, on that, the issue isn't. The issue really is about comparative experience of students, so that the environment suits what their particular circumstances are if they want to achieve this degree. I think this is a very important development in that. Also, because of the points-based immigration system that's coming in, we anticipate that there will be a lot of problems in the future with students turning up in time for induction. So I know this isn't about the MPhil, but the environment itself is really worth developing in those directions, because you can tailor induction to when people arrive.
I haven't forgotten about this, but just answering this question. Even induction, the university says yes, you should come, but some students don't come at all, and the research school doesn't do anything about it. So just because it's compulsory, nobody turns up.
But there are also two levels you have to consider. One is the induction, which usually are some focused workshop, which, okay, some you can run online, some it's just resources that you download, and that's okay. But there's a sort of the equivalent of what Marion is doing with residential student, which is the regular PJ forums. And so really would require somebody like Marion, or many Marion, who can actually do it online. And that's a problem of resources, not technology. I mean, we have the infrastructure. Are we going to train some of our people to be able to do that online? That's the issue. But that's not infeasible. It just depends whether there is a demand and when we should do it, and whether the faculty and the university is going to put some resources in doing it. Okay. And the other level is the level within the research groups. Obviously, if you are supervising 7 students and they're all dispersed, and you have to have a conversation with each of them, perhaps you want to put them in a Luminate room once in a while and give us some, tutorial and have a discussion and get them to get on, among themselves. So the idea is that we provide spaces where they can do it. And using Illuminate, Second Life is more funds for that sort of activity. It's not quite as effective probably to give a formal seminar. But to go virtually around the bar and have a drink is actually extremely effective. You should try it. It's unbelievably effective. And this coming from somebody who was very skeptical with such an approach.
I'm still scared.
We're not encouraging you to drink even virtually.
Steve has been
You can have cocktail. I mean, you have to have a cocktail. But really, we are actually using Second Life to run review meetings with our off-campus IT management board. And it's amazing how you do. You spend 2 hours, having a cup of coffee or whatever and discussing, and it feels like you're there. It's very effective. So, some of this technology has a use. Some is just for show.
So you're clearly providing an infrastructure and expecting others to provide a resource in terms of running workshops.
Well, we'll do some of it.
We'll do some of it for the pilot, but
that's where
the point will pass.
we need the